how do you really define GOAT? No, not that GOAT. These GOATs. How much time do you think people have wasted arguing about who the GOAT is in every sport? How do we really compare Michael Jordan to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Tom Brady to Jerry Rice? It really doesn't make sense, and it's not exactly possible. So much of what goes into their position is completely unrelated to the other position. A wide receiver and quarterback share very little of the same skills. A center and a guard for the most of NBA history have had completely different skill sets. So what I'm here to say is that the GOAT of basketball, really any sport, should be decided on each position, not just one general person. Think about it. Let's go back to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar versus Michael Jordan. Both are widely considered to be the best of all time at their position. These are their career stats, and honestly, when you look at them, they're seemingly near equal, with some variance depending on what you value. Like Kareem's ability to play 20 seasons, 15 of them on the All-NBA team, might be more valuable than those finals MVPs that MJ has. Think about comparing MJ to even Shaq. You can honestly say Michael Jordan has way more skills than Shaquille O'Neal. But isn't the objective of basketball to put that ball in the hoop? And I don't know if there's any person in the history of man who's been more unstoppable at doing so than Shaquille O'Neal. I know a lot of people say they want to get Kevin Durant or Michael or Kobe if they had to play one-on-one for the rest of the world's existence against an alien, but I'm thinking I might go Shaquille O'Neal.
With the game on the line, one shot.
Fate of the universe on the line, or the Martians have the death beam pointed at Earth, you better hit it. I want Iguodala.
And of course, we haven't even talked about Bill Russell and his 11 championships, if you value championships to that degree. Drink your water. Hit that sub button when it comes to comparing players like Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Steph Curry, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Isaiah Thomas, Jerry West, Dwayne Wade, Bill Russell, Hakeem Olajuwon, Tim Duncan. You get it. How do you really compare these guys? Again, how does MJ compare to Bill Russell? Of course, is it really fair to compare someone who's played against the same 12 teams every single year and he was like the only person above 6 foot to people like Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant or current people who are playing against some of the best competition there ever was? And if we're being objective, it is fair. To the naked eye, the modern NBA seems like it's leaps and bounds more competitive and full of better basketball players than ever before. But if you look closer, you can see how the basketball played in previous eras was comparative to the way they play now, just not as flashy. Julius Erving was the first Vince Carter. Jerry West was the first Michael Jordan. Wilt Chamberlain was the first Shaq. The game has obviously adapted to allow for more steps, the three-point line, no hand checking, how far training and physical science have come. But these early NBA teams, they focus on teamwork and fundamentals, and in many cases, that will win over speed and size. That's why when you get a combination of a player who is both physically talented and has a deep understanding of the game, it elevates them to a whole nother level. If you understand positioning and you have the ability to be physically superior, you have found the ultimate meta in sports. And I do recognize some of these players are a tier above the rest, I get it, but it's still fair to talk about Isaiah Thomas versus Steph Curry versus D Wade, or Hakeem versus Shaq, people you want to start your franchise around. But in this video, we are focusing on that tier above the rest, the very tip-top tier of that pyramid, because having a GOAT based on position will help clear out the most important debate of them all, the MJ, Kobe, Magic, LeBron debate. We spend far too much time discussing Michael Jordan versus LeBron James. It's honestly maddening when you look at these two and it's like no one else even exists. But if we're having honest debate, it's got to be LeBron versus Magic, Kobe versus MJ. Their play styles are just so much more similar. Both Magic and LeBron, their systems. You can include Scottie, you can include Tim Duncan, Steph Curry, Chris Paul, or even Russell Westbrook if you want to include some of the lower tiers. But the idea here is that they can do a little bit of everything at an elite level so they can help bolster up near every aspect of a game. Think of an NBA 2K player with their sliders across the board being pretty much all the way up. Nothing below the 70s and the highs in the low 90s. Now when it comes to MJ and Kobe, Dwayne Wade, Anthony Edwards, Julius Erving, they are the prototype basketball players. Their combination of speed and size allows for them to tap in on so many different styles of basketball. A shooting guard can learn to post up like Hakeem, but a massive center is not going to learn to dribble the ball like Kyrie Irving. And that's just a physical aspect of the game. When your hands are massive, you can't dribble that little ball. It's just too difficult. That's why when you have players like Kevin Durant doing what he's done, it's so remarkable. Then that's when you see Victor Wembanyama, and when he's doing, he might be a combination of Kobe and LeBron and Michael and MJ with Kyrie Irving, and that's just absolutely terrifying. But I digress. Let's get back to the point. These types of players, they're assassins. They're not going to be everywhere on the court. They're going to pick their battles, but when they do, it's going to be so important and it's going to be beautiful. Whether it's stopping their best player or coming through in the clutch or moments they really need a basket, they're going to utilize their fine-tuned skills to get you out of those situations. Again, think of an NBA 2K player, but this one has a lot more sliders up into the high 90s, but it's got a couple areas that aren't quite as high as the other, or some of their physical attributes aren't as high. But it's those extremely high sliders that make up for the lower ones that make them so deadly. If you have any memory of Kobe or MJ playing, there was always this thought process of when are they going to take over the game? What part of each half are they just going to impose their will? But if you watch LeBron and remember watching Magic, it's not like that at all. It's more about how they have their hand on a little bit of everything all around the game. And a lot of you are going to say, well, isn't that the better option, to be involved in everything, better better at everything? Well, it's not necessarily better at everything, it's where you exert your energy. The issue with doing everything for everyone is you're the system, and once you go off that court, everything falls apart. It's all too common in human nature to develop bad habits when you know there's someone behind you to clean up. Serious, drink your water. That's why when you have players like Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, Kawhi Leonard around Tim Duncan, or Draymond Green and Klay Thompson around Steph Curry and Kevin Durant, you have this core group of players who are capable of continuing that high level of play, holding up the system while that other player is out. Draymond Green and Klay Thompson can absolutely create offense while Steph Curry rests. Anderson Varejao and Mo Williams cannot. All these styles, they have their pros, they have their cons. It's like people who say LeBron should just drive to the hoop every single time. It's just not possible. And you can argue that players like LeBron or Magic can only work if the system is based around them, whereas players like Kobe, MJ, Kevin Durant, those players can execute their style in any system. Then again, that's why so much of players' careers have to do with circumstance. Who your coach was, who your teammates were, who the GM was, who your opponents were in the finals. All of these things culminate to create their legacy. Mike Trout is arguably the greatest baseball player of all time, and I think he's made the playoffs one time. Think about that. Being one of the greatest players of all time who will never be remembered because he never made the playoffs and can never do anything when everyone is paying attention. Discussing players based on position also allows for us to talk about more players, bring more of the spotlight, appreciate more of the sport, who's been there and done these things for us, instead of just talking about the same old LeBron versus MJ. I'd even be open to adopting a generational GOAT conversation, as the game itself has changed so much over time. And to think that there's only two people in the honest conversation for GOAT is actually wild. There are a few athletes who share a lot of the same characteristics when you look back at their career. Kareem has LeBron's longevity and Michael's success. Magic has MJ's success and LeBron's play style. Kobe had Magic's success with MJ's drive and influence. Duncan had Kobe's success with Kareem's longevity. And then Bill Russell had 11 championships, 8 of which came in a row. And that speaks for itself. But most importantly, they were all part of numerous championship teams where they played irreplaceable roles on. What these players don't share is the same skill sets and physical attributes, or really play the same roles on their team. As we said earlier, you have players like Magic and LeBron, players that entire systems are built around based on their size and skill set. You have players like Wilt, Shaq, and Kareem who are unstoppable around the rim based on their size and skill set. Kareem arguably having the most unstoppable shot in NBA history. Then you have players like Julius Erving, Kobe, Michael Jordan, who are near perfect offensive and defensive players that just don't have the size of Magic and LeBron. And the GOAT conversation will get wider as time goes on, especially if Steph Curry finds a way to get his 5th title in the next few years. And to be honest, Steph Curry would be one of one in the GOAT debate. There's no one in his size or skill set that is in that conversation currently. And there's been a reason for that. For most of basketball history, the way to be the best player on the court was to be the biggest. But in recent generations, that has completely changed. Who do you think will enter the GOAT conversation at the end of this era? Do you think Giannis will put together one last run with one last squad to get a couple more titles? Can Luka become LeBron 2.0? Are the Thunder potentially the next huge dynasty in the NBA? Let me know in the comments. Alright, that's enough yapping for today. If you enjoyed this video, think about watching either of these videos that's on the screen. As always, hit that sub button and turn on notifications. Go out there and do something great.